Why do something that others can and will do when you can do something that others can't or won't do?
I was born in 1953, and my parents came to know Jesus in 1956. I was very little, but I saw what God did in my family. And also because it was 1956, the year that the 5 men gave their lives in Ecuador. That's how I learned about missions, that it was all in for God. And so from the age of 10, I would tell people that I wanted to be a missionary, nurse, pioneer, martyr. And so as I grew up, I went to nursing school, became a nurse. And now the next step was to go to Bible school and get ready to be a missionary. And so I drove myself to Columbia Bible School.
I was born into a Christian family and probably started going to church 9 months before I was born. So when I was 16, because I had been told to go to church all the time, and I was at a point where I didn't really want to do that anymore. And so when I was 16, I took a job at the local radio station on Sunday. That was my idea, that if I get a job where I have to work on Sunday, then problem resolved, So I hired on, and on Sunday, my job was to take equipment around to all the churches in the area and broadcast the churches. I like to say God has a real sense of humor, because I was working, but I was still in church. Then when I was 18, I had an opportunity to stay for a week at a guest ranch. I remember coming home and just really dedicating my life again to the Lord. So I went to college and studied radio and TV, ended up going back to this ranch as a staff person. And then the owner suggested that it would be good for me to do a year of Bible school. I chose Columbia Bible College. And it was during that year that I met Cindy.
I remember the day he came strutting onto campus in his cowboy boots with his guitar slung over his shoulder. He was very cute. He looked like Robert Redford. And he was the talk of the campus. And my idea is that if a guy has that much attention, he doesn't need mine. And it was hilarious how we got together.
So we married, and then God continued to grow our interest in Italy.
I had wanted to be a pioneer, and Italy was way too civilized. But in the end, when we did get to Italy, one of the very first men we met, he was tall, good looking, smelled wonderfully, but he wore a leather bracelet on his arm. And he wore that bracelet because it had been prayed over by the priest so that it would keep the evil spirits away. And so even though we went to a very civilized country, they had some very pagan practices, and we're waiting to know Jesus as their personal Savior.
And then I put a small FM radio station on the air in Forlì. That radio station lasted about 9 years, and it helped us plant 2 different churches. And God brought people to himself and people to us so we could talk with them.
The thing that I have really come to appreciate that God has done in our lives, we truly walked with giants. In the churches that supported us, in the people who came alongside of us, we have walked with great giants of faith, and that is so exciting.
I think the greatest joy was just that he would call us to something that, was way beyond me and made a difference in people's lives.